Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. I've been stalking some Koreans this week as usual and having a look at what is doing a lot better in 9.19. There isn't anything too crazy or weird in this one. We actually have a new weird builds video later in the week, so you're going to find those there. But there are a lot of things that are probably going to be meta now, especially ready for worlds that you definitely should be or might want to play in solo queue. So just to say, last video we talked about a Kale build, and this is seeing a lot more play now. It's definitely a really strong pick, and this is the most common setup at the moment in Korea. But definitely something that is being played more. I think some of the pros are playing it as well, and we'll probably see it at Worlds. The first new one of this video though for 9.19, we have to really start with Blitzcrank. Korea do love Blitzcrank. Whenever he's meta, they'll play him a lot because he's so aggressive and he can win lane really hard and kind of snowball the game out of control, which is their favorite. But he is the highest win rate champion in the game at the moment, even after the hotfix. 9.19 changed the hook range to 1150 from 1050. The extra 100, it might not seem like a lot, but it made a huge difference. It also gave his ultimate another charge. I'm sure you probably felt this in game already, but there are a lot of really weird places that you can hook from now that people just don't expect. But some of the buff ones I think have been fixed, at least with the hotfix. The buff is really good though. It makes him way more of a threat in lane phase. So obviously that means you get a few more hooks, you get a few more kills, and a lot more gold. Leona and Volibear are the only ones who beat him right now on average in Korea. Nautilus is kind of close, so basically you have to dive in on him before he hooks your AD. Even though the buff is good, I think a really big part of this is that he's a very old champion that we've all learned how long that hook is, and now it's completely wrong. You have this kind of like internal judging mechanic, I guess, of like whether you're going to get hooked or not, and now that is way off, and you end up getting hooked when you don't think you're going to, which lets you get killed a lot more. I think that's the reason why it might be more of a temporary thing, but at least for now, he is technically the best champion in the entire game. As well, just to mention, like Zeke's is so insanely good on Blitzcrank because it synergizes so well. When you ult somebody in, you hook them, and then you have that extra damage and stuff, and this hook range gets that quicker because you're going to get more gold, and it's another reason why he's spiked up so much. It could also be there are some new easier targets, I guess, for him to hook, like more Ashe and more Jinx. So Ashe is our next one here because she got her passive slow increase early game, which helps her harass and chase people down, which is nice. The bigger buff this patch is that her Q is now an auto attack reset, so you can instantly turn this on after the last auto attack you need to stack it. It also made lethal tempo crazy good on her. It gives her attack speed, right, which stacks up the Q a bit faster, and then it gets you that reset, which actually makes her burst a bit more at the start of fights, and that is why lethal tempo is so insane. Arcane Comet is okay. The lethal tempo just has a stupidly high win rate in Korea and in general actually at the moment anyway, so it's probably better to swap over to that page for now. Blade the Ring King is more common in Korea because it's the carry and it's the damage version, I guess, rather than the cooldown reduction spam build that you can go with your Essence Reaver and your Trinity. We think of Ashe, we think of the arrow, but there's actually a lot more to her as well. Like, she's really good against a lot of champions like Kai'Sa and Lucian who don't have the range to fight her, and they get bullied and they get slowed and they kind of get shut down. It's also good against the other side of things like Kaylin because you can abuse the no dash with your arrow, and you can match her range, which won't allow her to bully, which she really needs to do. It might have seemed like a pretty small buff to some people, but this is so much stronger right now. Ashe is really good, definitely top tier. Next up, we're going to look at a really big Korean trend that has picked up over in 9.19. So Korea's new jungler on the block right now, except Mundo, is Echo. He's had a massive spike in win rate, play rate, and ban rate all at the same time. So basically, more and more people are playing him, and he's so strong that people are getting sick of it, and they're just deciding to ban it. The new thing with Korea is a Dark Harvest version of Rune Page. I mean, it was Electrocute before, but now we're going for that low health kind of burst. Part of the reason we're doing that as well is because it resets. So if you kill the person in your first combo without using your ultimate, which is definitely going to be possible with your stun change, you can move on to the next with more damage as well. It all started because of his W mana cost being lowered, and the stun duration increased up to 2.25 seconds. So if it lands, it's basically pretty much a kill. Before that as well, his E damage was buffed a few patches ago, and ultimate cooldown lowered to 50 seconds rank 3 with a no cooldown reduction, and that is when he's constantly looking for picks and why he can be so good late game. The idea with this pick is that you farm really well. It's kind of an outplay style champion. It's definitely a carry pick, which is why Korea love it, but your ganks are going to be stronger now that you can get ahead, which means he has more access to items and more access to damage and burst. The big downside to a mage in the jungle is that you take a lot of damage, but you also might not have enough to like burst through people, but this kind of fixes both of that. Also, like, you're farming a little bit easier because the stun lowers the damage you end up taking. Echo is probably one of the best carry junglers that we have at the moment. He has a lot of playmaking, a lot of setup, a lot of dive, and he is an assassin, right? So a lot of people find that pretty fun. Just because a lot of people are playing it and it's really fun and stuff doesn't actually mean it's the best. So the actual best jungler right now is going to be Zack. He got some pretty underrated buffs this patch, so each rank of your ultimate gives you 1% more health on the blob, so it's now 4 to 7%, which is actually massive. His win rate kind of goes with that as well. If you survive until 6, you end up shooting up to a massive win rate, so this is where you obviously have that extra healing, and it's going to definitely add up. Whenever you dive into a team fight with your new, like, well, semi-old, I guess, like reworked ultimate, whatever, you end up slamming a lot of these blobs out because you hit a lot of people, and you can pick them all up afterwards. It makes killing you really hard. He is now basically the #1 tank in the game by a mile. It's not really even close. He averages the most damage taken by all junglers and the most healing done. When you combine that together, absorbing a lot of damage, healing a lot of it back up, this is why he doesn't really die. To give you an idea, Lucian normally does about 17,000 damage on average per game, and Zack takes almost 34,000 and heals for 28,000. That's actually insane. It's not just absorbing damage though. You can kill a lot of time. You've got a lot of crowd control, so it's even more time that you're making sure people aren't doing damage in the first place. The idea is that you just can't really kill him. He does decent damage himself, especially if you put a Leandri's on him. Like, if you're ahead, Leandri's is pretty much a killer item that will seal the game. Your ganks are pretty good, a very long range engage anyway, scaling throughout the game, and then he has his revive passive as well, so really he is one of the best junglers you can play. Zack isn't the only underrated buff, I think, though, of this patch, so Ornn got a really good one, an awesome buff where we've seen him quite a bit more in Korea now after that. So actually the most underrated part before we get into the buff is his damage, really. So I saw this tweet from Kerberos, which I'll show you now, who's been around the UK amateur scene a ton. But if you ultimate and then you apply your brittle, you ultimate again, you consume it, you auto WE, you end up doing 76% of somebody's maximum health. That is without any base damage or auto attack damage or anything. That is just the percentage, and that is actually ridiculous. Ornn is not just a punching bag that people think. He can actually punch back, and especially after getting his upgrade. That was kind of the buff part of this, so his free masterwork items now happen earlier, a level earlier, starting at level 12. When he reaches that, he upgrades his items, and then after that, each level after, he upgrades something from his teammates, right? He's 30 more AD on Infinity Edge, for example. BF Sword is 40 AD, so it's almost like having that just chucked on top of your build. It's crazy, crazy good for late game. That's not counting his damage, how tanky he is. His engage is pretty much like devastating for a team-wide effect as well. So even just the gold value out of the buff is insane. Take away like everything else from the champion. Ornn is pretty underplayed, I would say, and another one that's even more underplayed is Heimerdinger at the moment. He's actually seen more play for the first time in ages though. He's played in every single role except junglers, but mostly top lane in Korea. So in 9.19, they gave him 5% more AP ratio on his turrets, both the normal and his ultimate version, and they also gave his stun a little longer duration. Most of Korea will take this rune page with Comet because it applies really easily, does a lot of extra damage, but some people take Airy, some electrocute, but the playstyle is max your Q and stick the turret down if anybody comes. They spend most of their time pushing. They try to get their tower plates and get the lead that way, and this is why they actually rush a Zhonya's second item. I don't think any other champion can get away with that and still do damage, but they will press the ultimate, they will put their super turret down and then just Zhonya's and let the others die. With the extra damage and the stun duration, it seems like he's just a bit more deadly, especially early, and most of his wins are coming from that lane dominance more than kind of like scaling throughout the game. He hasn't played a ton because he's Heimerdinger. I don't think people see him as that fun, honestly, but I actually think you could play him again now. He seems like mainly it's just there to irritate the enemy top laner into making a mistake and punishing them afterwards, as weird as that sounds. Moving on to a few mid laners that we have, one that's really sharp and is way more popular in Korea is Twisted Fate now. Normally he's pretty common in the mid lane, but he hasn't been seeing that much play, but he's been getting a lot more popular this patch with a couple of different builds as well. The reason this is happening, by the way, is because of a buff to his E in this patch. The attack speed was doubled rank 1. It now ends 10% higher as well, but the damage is also up 10 on the base. What that actually means in game is that any matchup that he can auto his opponent in, like to kind of harass and bully, just got way better because it's going to be way more damage, right? But it probably doesn't really make any difference in difficult matchups. The first build we're going to look at is the AP standard kind of build, but this is actually a bit different because we have Unsealed Spellbook as our keystone. It is really good for fighting in the lane phase because you have extra summoners and then you can just pretty much nuke down your towers afterwards, and that is the idea. On our secondary page, you have your Demolish in here, and with that E buff as well, plus Lichbane, eventually they will just absolutely melt, and that is why you really want to pick him. Obviously, you have the normal stuff, your gold card, your blue card, or whatever. You have like the normal Twisted Fate things. You can roam around with your ultimate, but this is kind of why you take this page. There's a lot of different stuff that you can do. Ghosting when Twisted Fate is really insane, like taking a cleanse as well, ignite for the lane phase pressure, but you can also ultimate to another lane and then TV back to lane afterwards by swapping, which is pretty clever. The other big winner for Twisted Fate though is actually AD. Twisted Fate is so much better with the extra attack speed. For once, this is actually something that originated in Europe, I think, a while ago. Someone from EU Northeast, I think, ironically actually did this first, but Korea love it because of its carry potential later with more items. The build I'm showing with Rage Blade is a way more greedy, but it's something that wins quite a lot, but Wit's End is probably a bit more normal for it, but the Rapid Fire Honesty Second just adds in that long range Sheen proc and stun card and the kind of utility that you need. This is also a tower shredder as well. It's in a different way, but especially at higher ranks, more people are playing the AD version again, as well as this new AP version. I pretty much always say this, but Korea's bot lane meta is pretty stale, I guess. Like, Ashe is a really big change, but apart from that, we don't have a ton of stuff, except Syndra is being played as a bot laner now. That's a bit different in 9.19. We don't see a ton of mages bot lane in Korea. Swain a little bit, Heimerdinger, Yasuo, but Syndra is, I guess, Yasuo is not really a mage, but still, Syndra is played a lot at higher ranks as well in the bot lane. She can bully AD carries really well. If she gets a lead, she'll be able to one-shot them, which is obviously always very nice, but she has the range and the kill potential together. It's pretty normal build-wise. Like, Zhonya's is a bit more optional as your third. Death Cap will net you way more kills. If you're ahead, you should probably go for that. But the only big difference to mid lane is the TP. So mid lane, you want the kill pressure of Ignite. It's really important to pick up a few kills and kind of snowball, because Syndra is really good when ahead and kind of bad when behind. Bot lane though, your support will take it, and that kind of covers up your lane phase and helps you get hopefully a few kills. So it's better to have that TP for better recalls and being able to farm and get your items a bit quicker. You also have really good setup with your stun, which can screw over ADs. You can snowball out of control, deal a ton of damage, and nuke the enemy AD. That's kind of the idea behind it. The other idea is that it's also just really, really hard to play against in the lane phase. So you end up getting a pretty big lead. You can zone the enemy AD, pick up a few kills early, and that kind of like lane phase presence is really why you'd pick it over anything else. So those are going to be some new picks for 9.19. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. This one didn't really have too many weird things. Honestly, I guess it's probably because it's the world patch. So they riot on deliberately trying not to have too many weird stuff. Especially the Blitzcrank Ashe bot lane, it's pretty insane. The Echo jungle, Zack jungle, like, you'll be seeing a lot more of these. If you haven't seen them already, it might be a good time to kind of pick them up and abuse them while you still can. Thank you for watching until the very end of the video. I really appreciate it. And for now, I will leave you with robots.